orders to go to India. We had an airplane to take over there. Two of us, two crews. There's four in a crew. A pilot, a co-pilot, and a mechanic. And radio the war, they don't try not to tell anybody anything. But the route was interesting. We went south to Brazil, and then over to the Ascension Island, which is a British island way down in the South Atlantic. And then to Africa. We stopped at Liberia, Tobruk, North Africa, stopped at Egypt. It was interesting to see what the war had done to all of the territory that we flew over. A lot of it was devastated, and there were tanks and airplanes and things all over the place. We went to Tehran in Iran, and then we went to Karachi, India, and then to Calcutta, India. And then we went up to the Assam Valley, which is up in the northeast corner of India. And we were based there, flying cargo missions down into Burma and over into China. There was a lot of supplies coming up through the Assam Valley, and then at that time, the only way to get it into Burma would be to fly it over into Burma, because the Japanese were still in southern Burma, and they were still fighting in China. So we had to take the supplies in for our troops and Chinese, or to try to rebuild some of Burma. Well, during that 8 months, there's the two crews up there. The other crew of four, they were doing the same thing we were doing. But those four flew down into Burma on a mission, and we never found the airplane. So they're still over there. And my co-pilot, well, we were still up there. He got an assignment to go down into southern India. And he was involved in an accident, so he didn't come back either. So of those 8, 3 of us came back. I went to Japan, and what I was doing there was flying surveillance of Russian shipping, and taking pictures of Russian ships and submarines when they were on the surface and things like that. A year when the Korean War started. And I went to Korea soon after it started. I was flying what they call a spotter aircraft. It's not small, but it's a single engine airplane, but it had smoke rockets under the wings. And our job was to go out over the bomb line, which is where they're fighting. And when we find targets, then we would call they always have jets circling above at high altitude with weapons. And we would mark the target. We'd first call them down, and then put a smoke rocket on that target. And then we could leave. They would take care of the targets. So they transferred me to a place called Daegu in Korea. And I had 2 navigators, a navigator in the front for visual and a navigator in the back for radar. And we would take off at dusk, and we'd have specific targets in North Korea, some as far up as the Anjun River, which divides China and North Korea. And we would take pictures of airfields and military installations in North Korea. Anti-aircraft at times would be quite intense. They would call them, when they fire some of these, the heavy anti-aircraft will come up, and you'll be flying along, and you'll see big bursts around you. You know that's 85 millimeter. Now the 37 millimeter is smaller, and when it comes up, it's like fireworks. You see these little red balls coming up, and we used to call them flaming golf balls because sometimes they'd be all around. And we were lucky. We flew all our missions and didn't ever get hit once. I have a distinguished flying cross. It's a pretty good one. We were coming back from a mission in Korea. We had taken our pictures, and it was getting to be a little light. And we were still in North Korea, and usually they ran their trains at night. In the daytime, they didn't run their trains because they get their train shot up. So as we were approaching Seoul, the capital of South Korea, we were still some time out, and we saw this big long train down there underneath us, and we thought, well, we don't have any armament. All we have is flash bombs to take pictures at night. And we had 5 or 6 flash bombs left. So we decided to go down and open our bomb bay and try to drop those flash bombs on that train. And we went down and backed off and got down very low, opened the bomb doors. And as we approached the train, the sides came down some of these cars, and they had guns in there, and they started to shoot at us. And we dropped, I figured if we dropped the bombs at a certain point, they would hit the ground and bounce up into the train, and they're incendiary bombs, so they would cause a fire. And they did. We dropped the bombs and took off. They missed us. We hit their train with flash bombs. And that was scary. And they gave us a distinguished flying cross for that, because the train had to have been carrying ammunition, because it blew up. A lot of the car blew up. One thing that was interesting to me was that we were going in to WWII, which was a town in Vietnam, almost on the border of North and South Vietnam. And we were taking a group of combat engineers and their equipment in just to drop them off, because it was an active area. And it turned out to be the day they had the Tet Offensive. I don't know if you've ever heard of that. Okay. But the North Vietnamese chose that day to strike all of the bases that they could. And when we went into WWII, there was a lot of confusion, a lot of talk on the radio, because they were fighting right on the edge of the field. WWII, the town they were fighting. So we landed and we unloaded all of our equipment and all of our people, but it was hard to get in because there were so many things going on. People trying to land, people trying to take off, people shooting at the airplanes.